zâmbesc pentru că mă simt într-un mediu atât de familiar și familial, încât într-adevăr este firesc să ne adresăm așa, ne știm de foarte mult timp și lucrăm și ne conversăm pe aceste teme de foarte mult timp și sunt extrem de bucuroasă și privilegiată de a ne reuni în această sală care cred că are o energie aparte în sensul dialogului de idei. Și sunt cu atât mai onorată și privilegiată de participarea tuturor antevorbitorilor mei și a celor care urmează să ia cuvântul. Cu acordul dumneavoastră aș fi înclinată să prezint intervenția mea în limba engleză pentru a echilibra un pic dinamica lingvistică și culturală a acestei dezbateri și sper că nu, mai ales că avem aici pe partea noastră din sală, avem capabilități de traducere pentru a integra și pe colegii de la Atlantic Council în dezbatere mai bine și îi salut de la distanță, sper să ne revedem cu bine la DC. So, Dan, Joseph, I will switch to English just to be able to continue our conversation in February a little bit, to have a sequence of our dialogue, because back in February when I visited your conference and your headquarters, we had a debate on the Freedom and Prosperity Index, a wonderful debate and very rich conversation. And I remember I was putting forward some of our ideas on Project Romania 2030, on the Bucharest University of Economic Studies findings in past publications, where we were looking at the European markets and the growth and prosperity of Central and Eastern Europe and its future, including Moldova, including Ukraine, including Georgia. And what we discussed back then, I will quickly reiterate. It was essential for our countries and our neighbors to be part of the European Union. The second point, it was essential for the prosperity in our countries to have access to foreign direct investment and the multiplication effects that entails, the prosperity that's brought by openness. And third, and most importantly in terms of innovation moving forward, it's very important to have all the parties around the table, multi-stakeholder engagement, to really have the public sector, private sector, and civil society working together towards shared solutions for the societies that they inhabit. And I think the wonderful aspect about Project Romania 2030 is that it actually encapsulates this third layer in the development of our region, the multi-stakeholder engagement, the fact that we are all in this together. President John expressed the reference to the power of innovation, the book by Lord Sainsbury. But at the beginning of our conversations, we also refer to Lady Shafiq's book on what we owe to each other. And I think these are two foundational elements of your index as well, the power of prosperity, but also the power of societal resilience, of freedom, and upholding our democratic values. And I think the discussion about rights and responsibilities is a very brave discussion that we need to have today, but there are also other brave discussions that we need to have today, just like your index does that bridging between what we thought are trade-offs. The fact that we used to think, we thought that we need to choose between security and liberty. The fact that we need to choose between democracy and economic prosperity. The fact that we need to choose between living the markets free reign and having a powerful and competent state. And I think we are all in agreement today, and this is part of the global conversation, that these in fact are no longer trade-offs. They are part of the same recipe for prosperity and development, for security and liberty. And the, let's say the key word here is and. We need that's A-N-D, not E-N-D. We need to bridge divides. We need to move forward in a more consistent frame of ideas and no longer be trapped in apparent divides, outdated divides. And I think this brings us to the issue of societal resilience. Our societies, our countries, our markets, our regions cannot be prosperous by being divided. We need to find a way to work towards social cohesion again and towards critical masses. And unfortunately, what we see in your index, Dan and Joseph, we see that our region is failing in different groups, right? We see Romania, we see Poland on a trajectory, but then we see Bulgaria, we see Hungary, we see other countries going in another trajectory. We see the brave Moldova coming closer together with us, but then we see again other countries in the Black Sea region growing further apart. And I think this is a time when Romania, talking about its multi-regional vocation and our discussion here today, it's not about the Romanian model, it's about the model that Romania can share with other countries in the region and the world. And I think this is the very foundation when we talk about allied shoring, when we talk about bridging or reigniting the transatlantic alliance. It's about finding common ground, and being grand again, yes, in a sense in which Romania maybe never was. There are moments in time when you have opportunities. And we were discussing yesterday with Prime Minister Gavrilița how the experience of Romania after its accession in the European Union was such a historical moment when it could have leapfrogged in a direction of exponential growth. It should have been the champion of the region. And unfortunately, we see that it's not. And now we have a new opportunity, a new historical moment, when we have different, let's say, financial resources in play in the European Union, when we have a sparked interest from the markets and a responsibility in the region, and all of these can converge into a historical moment for Romania. But then again, it can be lost or it can be kept. So I think our conversation here today, it's about the ideas that Romanians can put forward with regards to how they can shape our internal conversation and the external conversation of where we should be heading. But then our conversation here today, it's something equally important. It's a dialogue. The academia, the public sector, national and international experts are here to discuss where we should be heading. And I think the very fact that we are sitting around the table discussing these things, it's a point of action. Bucharest University of Economic Studies, so let me just quickly introduce myself. I'm a professor of economy at the Bucharest University of Economic Studies, and I'm also the president of the German Marshall Fund. And I think these two hats that I'm wearing today represent and embody perfectly the index that Dan and Joseph just presented, economy and democracy. And with my economist hat, alongside Professor Profiroiu at the Bucharest University of Economic Studies, we are pursuing these bridges, these intellectual bridges. With the Cambridge Institute for Industrial Innovation, we've just signed or agreed on a partnership with the Center for Productivity at the Bucharest University of Economic Studies, where we want to compare industrial policies for Romania with better examples maybe in Singapore, in the UK, in South Korea, and so on and so forth. I think it is a time in history where ambition matters. And it doesn't matter if it's a small country, a large country, a well-developed country, or a less developed country. The size of our intellectual ambition will inform the, let's say, appeal to foreign investors. And it is very important for us to have an ambitious industrial policy in place. Then, secondly, other points of action at the Bucharest University of Economic Studies. We are organizing a scholarly workshop in November with scholars from Europe and America to discuss regional opportunities for Romania, Moldova, but also Poland and Ukraine as part of a project that the university is implementing, a research project that the university is implementing as part of the recovery and reconstruction programming here in Bucharest. So I think these are just two examples when yes, Romania 2030, but also the academia, also local think tanks and international experts are trying to position the epicenter of the conversation in Bucharest. And I think this is important. This again is a scale of ambition. This again is something that we need to act upon. Let me just move to a very important point with regards to what else can be done. And this time it's not about us here in the room today, but it's about communicating to other stakeholders, like the Romanian government or other public authorities, the immense opportunities that the current financial framework presents to countries like Romania, but also Moldova and, of course, Ukraine and Poland. The framework of investments nowadays is very much geared towards cooperation between public and private sector. What the index is that we've seen on the big screen, Dan, I don't know if you realize, but there's a very large screen showing your data, and I think this is exactly the way it should be showcased. But I think what the indexes you showed show us is that there's a gap in the level of opportunity that Romania is not yet pursuing. And this is what President Joanna was also referring to in the beginning of the conversation. We can do more. And the available facilities for the region are incredibly powerful. We are talking about the European investment state at the moment. This is a source of finance that can leverage, again, foreign direct investment in the region, which in turn can create the prosperity for local development, not just for large cities. And this is a question of complexity and flexibility where brains have to negotiate how these instruments get channeled. And they can get channeled to Romania or they can get channeled elsewhere. And I think it is in a setting like this today that we need to start thinking about how we will actually engage. We can engage with each other here in Romania, but we also need to engage with stakeholders in the region, and I'm extremely happy Prime Minister Gavrilita is here with us. And we should also engage with stakeholders in the US, like yourself, Dan, and Brussels, in this conversation about where Romania should be heading. Maybe I will stop here with my very, kind of broad remarks. But again, I am very excited and humbled by the presence of so many interesting people sharing in our intellectual debates and conversations about the future of ideas. Yes, ideas about Romania and the region. Thank you all so much.